To watch the latest from India Science, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press on the bell icon to get notifications on all the science related videos.
India is reeling under the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. And if that viral infection wasn't causing enough havoc already, there's another one on the rise. And it is targeting COVID-19 patients, especially those with diabetes. Caused by a fungus named mucormycetes, the black fungus has a fatality rate of 50%. We tell you about the rare fungal infection and more in this edition of Science Time. I'm Nidhi Kumar and you're watching Science Time, a show that brings to you the best that science has to offer, from exciting developments in science and technology to futuristic solutions. And in this episode, we will talk about the rare black fungus infection and that pollution might affect memory in older men and discovery of movement in sea sponges. So what is black fungus, friends? Earlier this month, doctors at Delhi's Sir Gangaram Hospital raised an issue. Some COVID-19 patients had contracted a rare fungal infection called black fungus. It isn't the first time that the doctors are detecting black fungus cases in recovering COVID-19 patients. The pattern occurred in Ahmedabad and Bengaluru during the first wave of the pandemic, although they developed the infection after recovery. Cases of black fungus are on the rise, and at least 200 people are being treated in Maharashtra. In Gujarat, reports suggest that more than 100 cases have been recorded. So let's take a look at what is black fungus, its symptoms, and why recovering patients with weak immunity are vulnerable. The organism behind black fungus or mucormycosis is mucormycetes. The molds are commonly found in the environment. People get exposed by breathing in spores of the fungus. They start growing in the nose and the upper jaws before reaching the brain. Black fungus causes symptoms such as stuffy and bleeding nose, swelling and pain in the eyes, and dropping of eyelids and blurred vision. According to the BBC, also watch out for black lesions on the nasal bridge and the upper side of the mouth. Doctors had to remove an eye of a few patients to prevent the infection from spreading to the brain. It is fatal if it spreads to the brain. So now, who is at risk? According to the US Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the disease mainly affects patients with health problems or those on drugs that lower the body's ability to fight germs. For example, moderate to severe COVID-19 patients take steroids to suppress an overactive immune system and inflammation. COVID-19 can also be fatal when the body experiences excessive inflammation. Data suggests that steroids can be life-saving for the coronavirus patients. But on the downside, they lower immunity and increase blood sugar levels, providing an opportunity for the mucor to attack. So people with diabetes particularly are at risk. It has also been suggested that the mucor fungus attacks people with uncontrollable blood sugar levels. If a diabetes patient is on immune suppressive drugs, which are commonly administered after organ transplantation, and steroids, then the impact of mucormycosis is more on that person. It has also been observed that such COVID-19 patients should be carefully monitored on oxygen support. Mucor lives on the wet surfaces, and oxygen support devices come with a humidifier that contains water. If water leaks out of the humidifier, it could increase the patient's chances of developing black fungus. I hope the information helps. Remember that steroids are recommended for moderate to severe COVID-19 patients and should be used judiciously. Moving on to story number 2. And exposure to air pollutants is bad news for our health. Most of us know that temporary rises in air pollution might impair memory and thinking in older men. To be more specific, it might affect how older men perform in tests such as verbal fluency, word memory, and number recall. This is according to a new study published in the journal Nature Aging. This isn't surprising though. The findings lend support to previous studies that suggested that the brain is sensitive to air pollutants. For instance, a research paper found a link between exposure to air pollution in childhood to poorer thinking skills in later life. The researchers in the study evaluated how men's performance in cognitive tests changed with a rise in levels of a notorious air pollutant, PM 2.5. PM 2.5 are particles that measure 2.5 micrometers and smaller. They enter the atmosphere from traffic fumes, fuel burning, and forest fires. Participants exposed to higher levels of PM 2.5 tended to perform worse in tasks such as verbal fluency, word memory, and number recall. However, the researchers found a silver lining in their data. Men taking aspirin or other non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs known as NSAIDs did not appear to suffer the same cognitive decline despite being exposed to toxic air as the others. The Guardian reported, remember, this is just a link and we still need to find more evidence before concluding that these drugs protect your brain from pollutants. If we later find evidence that aspirin is beneficial, we still need to figure out how the drug protects against PM 2.5. Researchers have some theories. They think that NSAIDs, particularly aspirin, may work by reducing inflammation in the brain. Inflammation is the immune system's response to an intruder, in this case, PM 2.5. In other words, upon inhaling the pollutant, the brain's innate immune system gets activated and it triggers changes in blood flow to the brain. It's high time policymakers worldwide take stock of these research findings and do something about them. Moving on to our next story. Well, sea sponges have been around for aeons. We found that fossil records of these aquatic organisms dating back to roughly 600 million years, making them one of the Earth's ancient forms of life. And these aquatic organisms lack muscles, nervous systems, and organs, and even fins and feet, and therefore we consider them immobile. But are they? Recently, scientists found evidence to suggest adult sponges move around, challenging the previously held notion. The new evidence comes from a team of German researchers who spied on sea sponges residing in the Langset Ridge, a marine mountain range 100 miles away from the North Pole. And they published their findings in the Current Biology. The underwater footage showed that sea sponges were leaving behind spicules, skeleton-like structures, as they moved around. The spicules were captured in 70% of the images of these organisms, according to the study. And using the spicules, the researchers traced the route the sponges took as they meandered. Sea sponges have displayed their moving skills before, albeit in a lab, in an aquarium. These animals expanded and contracted their bodies to shift towards a spot with better flow. The mobility, however, was limited. And in the new study, researchers found evidence suggesting that wild sea sponges could be more active as they advanced uphill and changed directions as well. The New York Times reported. As exciting as this observation is, we still have a bigger puzzle to solve, figuring out how and why sea sponges move. The researchers speculate that the sea sponges advance towards newer spots in the sea to search for food and to avoid unfavorable environmental conditions or distribute offspring. Well, I can't wait to find out what future experiments will reveal about these ancient organisms. And in the end, I'd urge all individuals above the age of 18 to get themselves vaccinated against COVID-19. Stay healthy, stay safe, mask up, and keep watching India Science. With that, this is a wrap on this edition of Science Time. Namaskar.